Hey yo, welcome to another episode in the wild. And today we are talking about hobbies. Hobbies? No, habits. We're talking about habits. You know, those rituals that you perform on a regular basis without thinking about. You know, like how girls, when they take pictures, they always have that whole thing. You know, you see that? See that? That's a hobby. Habit. That's a habit. We're talking about habits.
I'm about to solve for an ass woman.
So a few days ago, I was meditating under a pine tree, as one does, I'm sure you can relate, when I was contemplating the keys to success. And I thought that one of these, you know what, it really doesn't matter. There's a very lame story as to how I came to this subject. Point is, we're talking about habits right now, and so let's begin, right? Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is, what are these habits? What's a habit? Now, you probably already have an idea of what a habit is, and like most things, you're probably right. But I feel like I've said this before. But anyways, again, let's, for the sake of unambiguity, give you a clear definition. A habit is a process by which a stimulus generates an impulse to act as a result of a learned stimulus response association. Another way to put it is to say a habit is defined as a phenomenon whereby behavior is prompted automatically by situational cues. Basically, these are learned cue behavior associations. That is so technical. I love it. Really says that we're serious, doesn't it? So to put in simpler terms, a habit is an action you perform under certain circumstances. So for example, when I go into a coffee shop, what do? I buy cake. So in this particular situation, the stimulus or the cue would be me going into the coffee shop. It would be the coffee shop. And the habit or the action or the impulse would be to buy cake, which is why I generally stay away from coffee shops most of the time. Another one would be when a teacher leaves a room, and how do the students behave? You know, they keep quiet, study, and do all of that stuff.
Somebody call Cole Brown up in here.
The cue would be the teacher leaving, and the impulse would be, or the habit would be the way that the students behave. So the stimulus does not always have to be external. You can have an internal stimulus, such as your emotions. How do you react when you're sad? How do you react when you're happy? So for example, please tell me in the comments how you react when you are sad. I myself am the cool, calm, and collected type. So yeah, but don't lie. Tell me the truth. Now we can talk about two attributes of a habit. One, they are context dependent. So like I said with the coffee shop example, I'm going to want to order cake because I am in a coffee shop. You know, I'm not gonna wanna order cake when I am in church or something like that, unless I have a weird association between the two things. And then they're also goal independent. It sounds weird because most of the time, or you try to adapt new habits rather because you're trying to achieve a specific goal. But good habits, when they are really ingrained in you, tend to persist even beyond the goal that you want to achieve. And this is a good thing, as we will discuss a bit later. So we're going to discuss how to adapt new habits and hopefully have them be sustainable. But before that, I want us to talk about a couple of things. So first of all, I want to talk about whether habits are actually a key to success. So we all want to be successful, right? In our own ways, whether it's you trying to achieve a new body, that summer body, or trying to get good grades, or trying to get a promotion at work. We're all trying to be successful, right? Are habits helpful for this? Well, I would argue that they are. Why? One of the keys to success is consistency. You need to really get your reps in. Whether it's exercising, whether it's studying, you need to get your reps in. You know, you need to get your repetitions in, and this is what habits are good for. They help you do that because you have to be consistent in habits. When you've really adapted habits, they become independent of motivation. You know how more often than not you want to feel motivated to do things. When something becomes a habit for you, it's just come automatically. Like if you're used to going to the gym every day at 5 in the evening, even in those times when you don't feel like it, there's going to be that internal thing that says to you, you need to go to the gym, or you need to study at this time. This means that you don't have to wait for motivation, and these things are very important keys to you achieving whatever you want to achieve. So yeah, I would say habits are pretty important keys for success. So how do we form these new habits? In order to try to answer this question, I'm going to be referencing a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. This book discusses how small changes or atomic changes can compound to help you make very big changes in your life. Now, I know a lot of you people out there don't like the self-help type of books, and with good reason. A lot of them tend to just be a lot of hot air, and they all talk and no real practical stuff. But I want to argue that this one is different. I think he gives very practical advice on how to achieve these habits, and I think you will really appreciate it. Before we get to those 4 laws, because that's actually what he calls them the 4 laws of habit formation, I want to talk about 2 other things that he speaks about, which I thought were important. The first thing was you should focus on the system and not the goal. Now, like I said earlier, most of us pick up new habits because we're trying to achieve a specific goal. So you want to study more because you want to get good grades. You want to go to the gym because you want to get a good body, so on and so forth. But he argues that do not just focus on that goal, focus on the system. And I think he makes a very good argument for this. The first one he makes is winners and losers have the same goals. Think about a sport. Say you are a soccer fan and Chelsea's playing with Man City or Chiefs and Pirates, whatever. These teams both want to win, right? We can agree on that. They both want to win. They have the same goal. The only thing that's going to separate them is the system itself. It's the strategies that they execute. The goal is supposed to be call it your focus point. It helps you focus. And it gives you that sense of direction. But what's important is the system. The second thing he talks about is achieving a goal brings momentary change. He makes a very good example here where he talks about a kid trying to clean his room. So imagine you want to have a clean room, right? And then one day you wake up, you have a burst of motivation, and you just decide, I want to clean this room. Boom, 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 boom. A few hours later, you have a clean room. But what's to stop you from having a dirty room a week later? Are you going to wait for another burst of motivation? No. He argues that you need to have a system that is independent of motivation. Another thing that he argues is that goals restrict happiness. Now, what does he mean by this? It's essentially another way of saying it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Life is what happens when you're trying to achieve your goals. Let's say you want to be a doctor. You want to spend 7 years, six or 7 years trying to be a doctor, like studying to be a doctor. If you don't appreciate these 7 years, these 6 or 7 years, or was it 5? 5 or 6 years. Yeah, I think it's 5 or 6 years. If you don't appreciate these 5 or 6 years, you're going to be miserable. Basically, you spend most of your time on the process rather than the goal. So if you do not appreciate the process, you're going to be miserable for a significant part of your life. Another thing that he argues is that goals tend to interfere with long-term progress. Now, this one can seem a bit complicated, I know, but basically it's a question of after you achieve your goal, then what? After you achieve your dream body, after you get that A in maths, then what? Do you slack off again? And then maybe a few months later, you have to try to pick up again. That's the thing. When you just focus on achieving the goal, you just want to stop there. So don't focus on just achieving the goal. Focus on the system and make sure that that system is one that you appreciate so that you can have that long-term progress. So that even after you have achieved your good grade, you remain a person who's good at that subject. If you've achieved your good body, you remain a person with that good body. The second point that he makes is that we focus on the wrong things when trying to develop new habits. Most people, again, the focus is always on that outcome, the end goal. He says you shouldn't really do that. You should think about your identity. Think about first internally what kind of person you want to be. So if you are trying to get a good grade in maths, do not think to yourself, I want to get an A in maths. Think to yourself, I want to be a good maths student. So start with that internal thing, like who you want to be. If you are trying to go to the gym to achieve a good body, think to yourself, I want to be a healthy person. I want to be a person who's in good shape. Then develop habits that are in line with this person that you want to be. If you want to be a person with a good body or healthy, what do? They eat right. They go to the gym regularly, or rather they exercise even if they don't go to the gym, but they exercise regularly. You develop habits based on that person that you're trying to be.